While we were waiting, I had asked that you follow the directions. So first I wanted you to think about an upcoming unit or lesson that you were going to be teaching. And from there, decide which instructional strategies you use and what is the best for your students. So what do you use with them? That's going to help us as we go through different things with creating the choice board and the menus and our playlist. Having that information already in your mind is going to make it that much easier, because we're not going to be trying to find out what is it that I want to do. And I also want to make sure that we're making this pertinent to you, so by the time that you leave the sandbox this afternoon, you have something that you can actually launch with your students next week or the week after, whenever you choose to use it. Once again, we are going to make digital choice boards. I'm Caroline Edwards. One of the powerful aspects of strategies that work is how they connect with the ways that humans learn. John Hattie said that, 2009. The learning progressions ensure that appropriately higher expectations of challenges are provided for students, that it is not only, or is not one right trajectory of progress for all the students. Instead, it is more critical to analyze closely how the students progress. There's also the question of how to move each student forward from wherever they start at through these levels of achievement. The money quote here is that there's not one right trajectory of progress for all students. As we know, all of our students do not learn the same way. They do not want to produce the same product, but we also know that if they have a voice in it and they buy into it, that they're more inclined to want to do it. Educational research clearly shows that choices lead to more confidence. They're capable and interested students. The classic article, Choices for Students by Alfie Kahn, cites relevant findings that include giving students choice in learning tasks leads to a greater task completion in less time. Students are asked to write up chemistry problems without step-by-step instructions, complete better write-ups. What's more, they remember the material better. That is no surprise given the generative note-taking research. To put it in a simple way, student choice, when implemented in the right way, works. Choice boards are one of those ways to do it. When we think about the barometers of influence, I want you to take a minute and read this to yourself and try to put it into the scope of what you do in your position every day.
Could you post the slide deck as well as the sign-in on the chat, please?
Yes. Let us hope that this link works. How about that? That should be the sign-in. Perfect. And here, I hope, are the slide deck. All right, so when we talk about the barometers of influence, we think about the effects. So if our influence, our kids have a negative, we have a negative influence on them, it's going to decrease their achievement. As we move up on this barometer of influence, this is what students would achieve without schooling. So if they didn't come to you, what knowledge would they pick up? What influence would students have from the outside world if they didn't see you? They never came to school. When we move over more, it typically affects the typical effects of a teacher on a student that can be accomplished in a year of teaching. So what impact do we have on a student in the short year that we actually have them? That is meaning. And then when we get to that zone of desired effects, that thing that students want, or anybody for that matter, if it's something that you want to do, you're more inclined to get into that and pay attention and be present in the moment because it is something that you selected. It is your zone of desired effect. You just went through this process right now when you were able to see all of the different people present something, and then you got to choose what it is that you wanted. So I have no doubt that by the end of today in our session, you will have created something that you actually can use. What's the point of sitting through something for 3 hours if you're not going to use it? So what is a choice board? A choice board is the graphic organizer that allows students to choose how they will learn a concept. It usually has 9 square grids. Depending on what you're teaching and the level of students you have, I've seen this go from special ed students up to AP students. AP students may have 15 choices and they may have to select 9 activities, where your special ed students may have 6 choices and they have to complete 2 or whatever the case may be. Each square on your choice board has an activity. Each activity relates to one of the multiple intelligences. So you're going to want to have something for your kinesthetic, something for your visual, auditory, the different learners that we have there. And the level of difficulty should vary. It could stay the same throughout the board. It depends on what you're doing. If you are looking at your choice board and you want the students to get their feet wet with something that's a little easier, you give them 3 choices of things that are easy. Then as you move inside, they get a little bit harder. Then when you get to the outside, you put your hardest activities there if that's what you choose to do. Choice boards are all about how you choose to set them up. So I'm going to show you several examples, and none is better than the other, or one is not right and the others are wrong. It's all about you and how you want to deliver your expectations to your students. There are several examples. If you click that link, he brings us, he's a tech, and he has the complete beginner's guide. So we have here the complete beginner's guide to choice boards. Everything you need if you choose to go there and look at what we have. He has some, by a lot of different people, send in things to him and he just puts them up there. You can do a choice board based on a story. You can do it based on the whole unit. You can do it based on chemistry, whatever you're working on. Knowing what you want to do. There's an example of a genius hour. All the links in my slides work and they will take you to this. And it allows you to really just look at what other people are using choice boards for. I want you to keep in mind today the levels of engagement. So there's 5 ways that students respond or adapt to school-related tasks and activities. It is even harder for us now to really keep our students engaged and have them really go back and forth with us or with their classmates through distance learning, because that's not what this platform entails really. So when we think about engagement, that's high attention, high commitment. The students are committed to that assignment. The students associate the task with the results or the product that has meaning and value to that student. The student will persist in the face of difficulty and will learn at high and profound levels. Strategic compliance, that's high attention, low commitment. We have a lot of students that fall in that strategic compliance area. They're really, really good students, but they do it just because you tell them to, not because they actually want to. So these tasks have little inherent or direct value to the students, but the student associates it with an outcome or a result that does have value, such as your grade. I'm going to do this because I'm going to get an A, not I'm going to do this because I'm going to take something from it. They'll abandon the work if the extrinsic goals are not realized and will not retain what you wanted them to. We have ritual compliance, that's low attention, low commitment. The student is willing to expend whatever effort is needed to avoid negative consequences. So I'll do it so you don't have to say my name. I'll do it because I don't want an email to my parents. The emphasis is on meeting the minimum requirement. The student will learn at low and superficial levels. So they just do it they don't care if they get a C or a D. We have lots of students like that. We have retreatism. There's no attention to it and there's no commitment. The student is completely disengaged from whatever task we're asking them to do. They don't even attempt to comply with its demand, but it does not try to disrupt the work or substitute other activities for it. The student does not participate and learns little or nothing from that task. Then we have our rebellious students, or the rebellion level of engagement. They have diverted attention and no commitment. The student refuses to do any work. They act in ways to disrupt others, or they substitute tasks and activities to which he or she is committed. The student develops poor work sometimes, negative attitude towards formal education, and intellectual tasks. We have to be careful when we talk about that rebellious student, or when we think about them, that we don't negate the student's inability to do something. So if we're asking a student to do a task that's too high for them, we may see a bit of rebellion come, because that takes us away from, I don't know what's going on, to I'm going to act like this and I know the attention I'm going to get is going to be based around my behavior. So as we look at the little charts on the bottom, each color goes with that. So the highly engaged classroom has a lot of engagement. The well-managed classroom has ritual compliance and coupled with strategic compliance. And then the pathological classroom has a balance of everything, just a little bit of engagement. So you have all of your students in there. This slide has to do with the first one. Here's an example of what it might look like. So you take the content and you build it into the curriculum. In this case, we're going to use photosynthesis as our example. As the teacher, you have to decide what instructional resources or methods you're going to use to deliver this content. Instructional resources and different method options. So am I going to have direct instruction? Am I going to have direct instruction in a small group? Am I going to have direct instruction as a conference where I meet with kids that just need help? Is there going to be reading material? Sometimes we have textbooks, articles, you can have online databases that you want them to go to. Are they going to listen to the material? Is it going to be an audiobook? Is it going to be a podcast? Is there going to be the teacher recording? Are they going to view it? Watch a video? Are they going to have a little video clip? Is it going to be a brain pop? Is it going to be something that we get off of Discovery Education? Are they going to listen, view, read materials? So it's an interactive presentation with audio. That option in Google Slides, being able to add our voice and being able to read over things, or in the Google Smart Suite, has proved to be very beneficial despite the level of the student, because you're able to give them directions right in your slides. Or they're going to have an online simulation. We send them somewhere, they look at photosynthesis, they watch it, they can manipulate that screen and see what's happening. Traditionally, us as teachers, we choose one or two methods, and then we create a lesson plan and an activity based on what we think is the best way. So when we think about photosynthesis, if you can think all the way back, even if you're not a science teacher, when you think about photosynthesis and you think about the process, we can talk about it, but some might see it. If I show them the video, I know that they're going to say, oh, that's what photosynthesis is. I would choose just that way, where that might not work for all the students. So with choice boards, we're going to take 5, 6, sometimes 7 different methods and put it out there, all getting us to the same answer that we're looking for, the same product. So we're planning our choice boards with the end in mind. It's important to note that there must be an assessment. So we're not just going to have these students complete five tasks per se with nothing to show for it. The purpose of the choice board is the learning. So we want to make sure that we have an assessment that the students are working towards. So we'll create the photosynthesis lab. That's our final project. In order for them to successfully complete the lab and analyze the results, they'll have to understand what photosynthesis is, why it's important, what the process looks like, what are some key terms and vocabulary for the content, and how this connects to other units in science. So that part right there is my end result. I want them to be able to complete the lab. In order to complete this lab, they have to do A, B, and C. Now I look at my 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I find what activities can I give them that cover all the multiple intelligences to get them to be able to answer those 4 questions. Throughout the activities, they should be recording what they are learning and what they understand through a guided set of notes. The end result is that they should be prepared to successfully complete the photosynthesis lab. Previously, in our traditional classroom setting, students may not have been engaged through a presentation, or they did not connect to the instructional delivery method. Here, they have a choice to go with what they want, how they learn. Let me pause here for a second and answer any questions if you have them. Are there any questions about that process?
Yeah, question about the assessment at the end. Then would you, to know that they've learned the material, are you talking about giving them a test or having them do a lab or something to prove that they know these 4 components?
So in this example, they would complete the lab. And my lab, they would have to be able to show the knowledge that they attained through the choice boards through the lab. Depending on what content you have, you think about what it is that you want them to do. If you want them to write a paper comparing the North and the South in the Civil War, I need to make sure that I provide them with articles, videos, graphics that will allow them to attain the information for them to produce for me what I'm looking for. If it's math and I want them to be able to solve multi-step equations, I need to know that I want to give them something on combining like terms. I want to give them something on the distributive property. I want to give them something on one-step equation so that they can essentially show us the knowledge that they attained at the end. Any other questions regarding that slide? Visuals definitely work well with this. And the most important thing with this is that we compile it all into one place. So if you have visuals, several different visuals that you want to use, you can put them on several different Google Slides and attach the Google Slides to your choice board, and the students will be able to go and get it there. How to create a choice board. So now that you're convinced, let's revisit the choice board creation process. The process you choose reflects what you know and how you connect ideas and information. Some steps that you can follow are to choose the target concept or standard. Outline or draw out your concept map. Make a list of discrete ideas, skills, and strategies that are needed. Connect those to modalities that meet the needs of different students. Design the choice board in your tool of choice. Our tool of choice for this is going to be the Google Slides. And if you check out, if you click on that other link, I'm going to show it on my screen as soon as it loads. So here is an example of a choice board template. This is okay. I like it. I prefer my things to be a little more aesthetically pleasing than this, but this will work. So this is the basic foundation. I'm going to show you how to get to this, how to do it. But you put your 9 boxes, you have your directions at the top, you have your teachers, you edit it, you add any information you want, and then you drop your links in. There's another link in there to several different templates. These templates are okay as well. So all of these links, you can use them, make a copy. I'm going to show you how to take one. If I wanted to use like slide 10, I only wanted to use slide 10, how to get it out of this template and bring it to my own. So there's a link to those. There's also a link, and if you have never explored any of these collections, please take some time when you get a moment and just look at them. There are a number of choice board options. So when I come here, they give us a lot of choice board options where you can look at it. And you can take any one of their templates that they have and actually make it your own. This template here, I think, is beautiful. This is if we were going to use a menu. So we have our choice boards, then we have a menu. If you think about going to a restaurant, they usually ask you, do you want an appetizer? Do you want an entree? What would you like to drink? We bring that same concept into our choice menu. So we put in our menu, we have the main creation that we want them to do. You have your appetizers, you have your beverages. So if they wanted to create something, menus are used a lot for output. So what is your student actually creating? They look at the menu and they pick, I want to do this, this, and this. Now it's very important that with either one of these that your directions are clear and concise for the student. For instance, if I tell my students just pick an entree and pick an appetizer, and they do that, but I really wanted them to follow what was on the menu, beverage, appetizer, entree, I wasn't clear to them with that. So I can't hold them accountable for it. And the last thing before I show you some examples and the creation that I do is, why should we keep this after we return to school? And I would like to take some answers from you. What would the benefit be of keeping choice boards after we return to school? The slides said you need access. Let me see. Anyone with a link can view it. Let's see.
Well, I think they're great. I think that having all these choices gives the students a sense of like, they're making their own decision, and they're kind of vested in that activity that you're giving them because they made that choice. So hopefully they follow through and they do it, which was an issue, the previous semester in terms of kids actually following through with the assignments that we're pushing out.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do appreciate this form.
Thank you for that. Anyone else have any thoughts on why this would be beneficial? They attend to the multiple intelligences and the different modalities. I believe that is the link I just dropped in the chat box that you're looking for. And yes, the student's best learning method is still the same, whether it's in the classroom or through distance learning. So a lot of times we are, and myself included, we are the teacher that says it's very hard for us to give a lot of options for students to choose. It's hard for that. It's hard for us to say, I'm going to accept whatever they do. So a lot of thought has to really go into these choice boards so that we accept whatever they choose. Whatever they choose is acceptable. And it does make it very interesting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift over to my side, and I want you to watch me for a second so that when we move into the next phase of this, you're aware of how to actually start from the bottom up. Were you able to access the link that I sent over, the last one, with the templates? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Perfect. All right. So here we are with this, and I am actually, if you were not with me the other day, I actually wanted to start with this one. All right, so here we are with a blank slide, and we're starting from the beginning. I want to call it Choice Board 1. Please do not hold me to any content that I'm putting in here. I am doing this on the fly. The first thing that I want to make sure I do is I go to View, Master. When I open up this master, it's going to allow me to add anything here that the kids cannot manipulate. So I have a blank screen. I want to either choose my background or not. I want to insert a table. I'm going to go with 9 by 9. Put my table here. This gives me my perfect squares. I decide, depending on whether you are really into this or what you like, I want my border to be 8 points. I want my border to be white. And I do not recommend, let me put it back for a second. Do not change it to white until you fill in all your colors or you change whatever you're going to change. I am going to change the colors to whatever colors you like. It doesn't matter. Just make it. This part is all up to you, so you can make it as simple or as hard as you would like for yourself. This part does take a little bit of time, but once you set up that initial choice board, you don't have to do it again. You can just reuse the one that you're actually in. I'm clicking on the fill, and I am filling the boxes with many different colors. Then I like the look of I like this look. So now I have my 9 boxes. I enter a text box. On my text box, I am going to say Choice Board 1. You can do everything in here that you normally do. For instance, I can make it a real pretty font. I can change it, put it here. I can move it anywhere I want to. I add another text box. This is all information that the students cannot change. So anything I put in the masters, the students cannot change or manipulate. They can't move them around. They can't do anything like that. So if you're worried about having your first column being the easy ones, then harder and harder, if you're worried about that, then this is where you go, and you don't actually, they can't change it. So when I enter my text, this is going to be easy, medium, hard, same thing. So I have the basic outline now. Now I have the basic outline. When I come out here, I notice that regardless of where my students click, they're not going to be able to change this at all. They can't change it because I did it in the master. So anything that I want to add or update, I have to make sure I'm in the master. So I'm going to say complete 3 problems. Read this article, watch this video, and answer questions. When I come back out here, notice they still can't change it. So as long as I change it in the master, they can't change it at all. You need to make sure that if you are telling your students, sometimes with the tic-tac-toe, you tell your students you want 3 in a row, or you want a diagonal. If you say that to your students and you put all of your easy in one column, a student could do all of the easy tasks and they would have met your criteria. So if you're going to do a tic-tac-toe sort of thing, you want to make sure that you put them sporadic so that they have to at least do 1 of each. At the same time, you don't want the students doing all of the hard tasks. Any questions at this point?
I have a quick question. It's Melissa. Hi. So I never used this View Master ever before. And when I pulled up the, I made a copy of the slides so that I could manipulate it. And when I go in View and then pick Master, I don't see the slide choices on the side. Like it looks totally different. And then I try to click in it and it doesn't do anything. Like I don't understand the View Master aspect of it at all. It doesn't look like what yours looks like.
Okay. So did you have a slide already over here on this side?
Well, in the sample you gave us, there's like 15 slides.
Okay. So you are talking about this. Are we referencing this right now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So for this, thank you for bringing me here. I'm going to pause on the other thing for a second. Let's say, for instance, I want to use slide 9. I am going to copy slide 9. I'm going to open a new presentation. And then I need to paste slide 9. When I come in here and I'm on my, so you're saying that when you click on View Master from this, you don't see anything?
Well, you could try it now. Like if you go View Master, then it goes to that weird other page where it says click, 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 and I don't.
Yeah. So those are your master. Those are not. They were not completed in the master. Those slides on that template were not completed in the master. So that's why you're able to manipulate them and I'm able to manipulate them. And
so if you just shared these through Google Classroom, would each child just get their own presentation?
Yes.
So you wouldn't have to worry about them manipulating yours because they would have their own, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
So they would have their own, but even in giving them the option to manipulate their own means that they can delete your things. So if you put a task in there and they don't want to do that task, they could delete it or change it.
And what would be the benefit of doing that for them?
there would be no benefit, but we have lots of
I mean,
students that will do
I
it.
just always make a copy whenever I do a PowerPoint. Then I just make my own because I'm aware that they could do that, but I don't know why they'd spend the effort to do that. If they're getting their own copy, they're only manipulating their own
So
copy.
many kids that erased him. It was hilarious. There's so many kids that erased all the individual slide decks, and you
But
have to
if
go
you have
back
your
and,
own
remind.
that they can't touch, then you still have your own copy, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So you will have your own copy of it, but once you release it to your students, then they stay there. So let me just come back to this tab for a second. And there are lots of templates out there. And if you're not worried about your students, then that is the way to go. When we get into here, you add this, and then whatever you want them to do. So if I want them to I want to insert a link. I have this. I'm going to want to link it. I link it to whatever. Let me not do that because I don't know what that video was. Whatever video you want to use, you're going to add that link here. And I can write my directions around the link. So here's the link to that. And I enter my directions again. So now when a student comes to this and they choose whatever they want to do, you're going to format it better than I did. But they see this, they click the link, it takes them to their video. You also can link this to a Google Doc, same way. I'm going to link it to a doc. And then I have 2 links in there. So answer the attached questions after they watch the video. They watch the video first, and then it goes back to that. You can put anything in the background that you want. So when you look at your menu, you will notice that I put a little guy in the back. I put my appetizers, my entrees, my desserts. I did all of this part in the master so that they can't manipulate that. You can do it outside. There are some ways that you can take templates from other people, erase all that information, and put your own in. So if I take a template from here, and this is the one that I'm going to work on. Why is this in view only? Oh, because I'm not signed in as me. Sorry, let's use this one. So if this is where I am, I just erase it and I put my example. And I put my example. And I enter another example right in here. Please be sure if you choose one of these to just take it and add it to a new one like this so that you don't have 15 templates. You just take the one that you want, copy and paste it. Another thing that I want to make sure you know how to do is change what the page setting looks like. So sometimes we want our things to look like widescreen. Sometimes we want them to be standard. You can change the size of your page to make it what you want it to be. I can make it a 8 by 10 if that's what I want. and then it makes my template change to what I want it to. Are there any questions for me at this point?
Hello?
The question that I have, sorry, this is Rocio Ramirez from La Paz. The question that I have is, can you repeat how you can take a slide that has already been created, like for example, the one you have on your screen, and turn it into a master? Like maybe we already have slides created that we could just transfer to become a master. How would you do that?
Yes. So if you have a slide that is already created, you are going to have to still go into edit master mode. And those slides that you create yourself, when you click on them, you should have edit master mode. And then it should show up in your master. Those of you that don't have a question, you can take a break right now. It's break time. If you do, stay here if you have a question.
I have a question.
Yes.
I tried, I put in a link with the master place. And then when I go back to the regular place, I couldn't do the link. When I click it, it didn't show. I have to copy and paste at the regular place. I couldn't put the link on the master, didn't work.
So if you put the link in the master, the students have to be in present mode for it to work. It will work if you put it in the master. It just has, the students have to click present mode.
Present mode?
Yeah, and review your document there.
Oh, could you show me about the present mode?
Yes. Yes, so this up here, so once you create it, if you click present from here, this screen, they have to click present.
Present. Oh. So you click the present?
The student has to click the present.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. Or could you create a slide, copy it, and use it as a background?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So you're basically giving them 9 options and expecting them to do either 3 or 4, depending on the teacher's choice. So
yes.
When you're grading them, so since all these are you're going to post this in your Google Classroom. So there'll be all the links that will be attached to these to the Google Classroom. So when you're grading, so you literally have to keep track of each and every student, what are the choices they have picked, and then you have to is there any, my question is there any efficient way to grade, or you literally go through each and every choice and grade them and put them in an Excel and then go back and upload these codes? So this the point being, it'll take a longer time to grade them and then see how they're doing, in the sense, if you just have three choices and if you're expecting all the students to do the same work, it kind of is easier on the teacher's part, to grade and assess them.
Yes, so I think it depends on what platform you're using to create your assessments in. Because if you're using Google Form will grade it for you. And then if you're delivering your Google Form in your Google Classroom, the grades pull into your Google Classroom as long as you import them. If you're creating an assignment in a different platform, so I think that's where you have to decide. It is more work for you per se, but it's more engagement for the student.
So that's Google Form. I know how to. I use Google Form a lot. But is there any other tool that that you're aware of that can be used?
No. So Google
Okay.
Forms, as far as grading for you,
Uh-huh.
no.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question. I've just been trying to transfer something from the Google templates onto Google Slides, and every time I paste it on there, the everything in the background has disappeared. I've tried it several times now.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Okay, I took a template like the one we're looking at the screen right now,
Uh-huh.
copied it, gone to Google Slides, pasted it, and when I pasted it doesn't show the grid or the background. It just says choice 1, choice 2, choice 3, etc.
Okay, so you have to make sure that when you click on the template that you actually click to copy the slide. So you want to click it from the right-hand side, like from over here, click
Okay,
copy.
yeah, I am doing that.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you can share your screen with me during the break. Just give me 5 minutes and
Okay.
then I'll come right back and I want you to share your screen with me.
Okay.
All right.